Okay, it's about time, so I think we can start. Can you hear me online?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so welcome to the very last session of this meeting. Thank you to be so resilient to be up to this fifth day. And this session will be about discussing collaboration for complementary external dataset. Before to start, I remind you we have the code of conduct. You've seen this slide many times. And I also remind you that this is a hybrid meeting, so we have people also online. So online speakers, please be muted unless you're not speaking. And for people in the room, I remind you that if you want to ask a question, please wait for the microphone, unless otherwise people online cannot hear you. So I'm Vincenzo Petrecca from INAF Napoli, and I will be sharing this session together with Steve Margheim, who is here in person, and Jeff Neumann online. This is the session agenda. We will first hear by Steven about accessing in-kind contributed telescope access and dataset, and then we will listen feedback from science collaborations, and finally have an open discussion. So I invite Steven to join for this talk. Okay, floor yours.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Steve Markheim. I'm part of the in-kind coordination team at Rubin Operations. And so I'm going to go through some of the telescope and contributed data sets that are being contributed through the in-kind program. I'm going to go through them pretty fast because all this information is online, and I think the discussion is the more interesting thing, but I want to give just some highlights to what's available. So there's amount of time that's being done through open access telescope time. So this is telescope time that's being contributed, but it is not for a specific purpose. It is being opened up through the community for any science proposals. Most of these will be available through the NORLab time allocation process. So the normal TAC for NORLab, just as we were applying for one of the MSO or Gemini telescope resources. There's a nice webpage we have where this is all kept up to date and listed. So that's where you really want to go. We started beginning some of these first offerings in semester 25A. More is coming in this next call in 26A and even more beyond that. Right now, we're offering all this time through NORLab as a single semester allocation so that you apply for that next semester. That's when you have your time. We are keeping our eye open on the possibility of using this time with long-term status and survey programs, if that's how we best maximize the science of these contributed resources. So the stuff that's been available now, there's a program from the Nordic Optical Telescope that does supernova classifications. It's been pretty popular. It was our first published result from in-kind contributed resources. They classify supernova, and it goes on public on WISE-REP within 24 to 48 hours. And then we have the Milanovic Telescope in Serbia. One of our first. This is offering some AON compatibility and does imaging with a 1.4 meter telescope at a very nice location in Serbia. In the next call for proposals, we have some very big options coming. First is Subaru Telescope. We have about 5 nights a year, and this is for a PFS and HSC time. So this is good dark to gray time, 5 nights of a year. Going to be very, very helpful to lots of people. The Korean Microlensing Telescope Network, so KMT-net, we're going to do 150 hours a semester on each one of those telescopes. So there are 3, Chile, South Africa, Australia. They're going to be pre-allocated nights in which you can do AON work in, but also the beginning and the very, very end of nights, there's some opportunity for nightly TOs. And then SALT is also going to be brought into as part of the call. So we have 25 hours a semester there in the Q-based SALT with their instrument suite. Other things that are coming soon, we have the GTC. We have 2 nights a semester available. That's going to be one of these non-standard proposal routes. So you'll actually be proposing through the GCC team for the Spanish TAC. That'll be a little different. More information will be coming online soon for that. We'll have time on the VLT survey telescope in Chile, time on the large binocular telescope. These are both part of an Italian contribution. And then we have additional 1 to 2 meter facilities going to be coming online in New Zealand, South Africa, Turkey. We're hoping to have most of these tied into AON at some level. And so that we'll have great imaging longitudinal coverage with in-kind facilities through all these. So those are some of the resources that are available just for open time. The sort of different category is contributed data sets. And so these are data products which complement the survey, but they're not necessarily acquired specifically in response to alerts or other measurements that come from the survey. So there's not always a clear separation on some of the in-kind contributions on which is a software development project, which is a contributed data set, tended to be a little bit more broad in putting some of these because there. We have a website now for this, which provides a summary and also the primary recipient. So then again, that's going to be getting updated with some more information as we go along, but all this stuff is listed there. Access to this data is going to really depend on the contribution. Some are being fed by the contributions themselves. Some of these are going to come into Rubin resources, whether that be like Astro Data Lab at NORLab or other things. And so we need to make sure that we have everybody that is entitled to this data. So again, the Rubin data rights holders can access this, that it exists for some longevity, and that
I think we just lost the sound from the room.
Sound and video, or?
It's frozen.
Is there anyone joining from the conference room which is here on this Zoom? Or we are all remote?
I think we are all remote.
There was a Zoom problem in the Madeira room also.
Yeah, they've been recurring.
Well, I see the message in the help channel on Slack, so hopefully they'll take care of it soon.
I'm going to jump to another room, hope for the best. See you guys.
I have contacted Vincenzo Petreca, which is one of the co-chair of this session. He just told me that they lost connection and they try to solve this and asked me to let you know.
Thanks.
I think they will try and join again. I understand there is an issue in all the rooms in all the hotel. So wait and see. Oh, okay.
But we aren't getting sound from the room. You're muted, I think. You're still showing as muted. I think, Kathy, if you're a host, maybe you can unmute them.
Can anybody in the Zoom
Ah,
chat give us?
now hear you.
They cannot hear us. Okay.
Now we do. We just did.
Ah, okay. Excellent. All right. Sorry, we had a big internet outage here.
I'm going to collapse the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So sorry for the online group. This is all on that website. So if we missed a few pages of this, we're just quickly going through it. So there are a few other. There's a Subaru PFS spectroscopic survey. That's so basically that's just going to provide targets. It's going to be part of the filler survey with PFS. There is a filler survey for Photo Z training set. So these are directed. They're being designed specifically for specific reasons, but then this data should be available to a wider, broader. So here's a couple that are science software development, but actually are sort of data sets. So there's a Rubin plus Vista cross-matching program. And then there's also a Foremost program to do spectroscopic follow-up. The main thing is those are going to become available. More information will be coming on the website as we figure out how the access is going to be developed. The questions that I want to know is how we make sure that these resources add value to your science. Is how do you need to access?
Oh, no, it just froze again.
Those 5 seconds were great, though.
Glass is half full for you.
I was looking at the message.
Okay, that's next one.
Let's keep that question. Okay, there is a question here. You have the microphone here if you want to reply. Sorry for the delays.
So just a question about the TBDs, how they are going to be TBD'd, like how they're going to be decided. Because I can see there are a couple that I think, desk would, benefit from or others I can imagine.
Yes, we're just putting them in the tracker right now. And then that'll decide who is primary and but we'll also have secondary recipients. And so anything that it looks like it could be there, we'll approach the different science collaborations and say, would you, we would like you to be a secondary or primary recipient on this program, and will you accept that burden and help us?
Other question for Stephen, either in person or online? Greg.
Hey, Steve, I believe that the Foremost spectroscopy program will be extremely important for being able to do the Photo Z calibration. Do you know what is the status of the instrument, and are they already taking data, or they will be taking data soon?
Soon.
Do you okay.
I don't know much beyond the public stuff, but they are moving but beyond commissioning into, I think it's timed well.
Okay, good. So thanks.
I see a question online. Do you want to unmute?
Sure. So wanted to know when the decisions will be made on whether to do survey proposals, because in particular for Subaru PFS, that would be extremely valuable, but the call, I guess, will be coming pretty soon.
So it won't be in the first year or so. This would be something that would help. Most of these telescope contributed these facilities are being offered for the 10-year survey lifetime of LSST. And so we want to make sure that we understand how we're supporting these, what the demand looks like, and then how we can do that. So if we were going to make something into survey, I imagine it would be in a couple of years.
Okay, if there are no other questions, let's thank Stephen again. Now we can move to the presentation from the AGN Science Collaborations. We will have both in-person and remote speakers. So I will suggest that we have all the presentations and then leave question for the final discussion. Am I sharing on Zoom? No?
No.
Wait a minute. Sure.
Now it is.
Okay. So I think the first one is AGNSC. So Bindu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Bindu Rani. I work at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, and I will be presenting on behalf of the LST AGN follow-up subgroup. I'm really excited to show you what our plans are for multi-wavelength follow-up of AGN and how the group is working along so far. So just to remind you that in AGN, in LSST AGN, we have 4 actively working subgroups: the selection and classification. We have a group on redshift estimation. Then we have a group following on the variability itself. And finally, the group me and Claudio Ricci are leading is the multi-wavelength follow-up group. And if you have any question, if you want to reach out to us, I have our emails over there. So feel free to shoot us an email anytime you would like to talk to us. The next slide, please. So among others, these are the top priorities the subgroup has so far. So the first is to develop and coordinate. So by that, I mean that we are looking into the multi-wavelength observations and follow-up strategies, and we are working together with the brokers to coordinate in a better way. The second one is pooling external and internal resources, which means we are gathering information about telescope time, telescope access, and data access, especially for spectroscopic and photometric follow-up observations, but also the other multi-wavelength observations at other wavelengths. I mean, observations at other wavelengths. And finally, since there will be a lot of data set that will be collected as a result of all these efforts, assembling that multi-wavelength database is also going to be challenging. So the group is also looking into that. And overall, our priorities are to maximize the science return for the Rubin AGN science collaboration. Next slide, please. So to achieve these goals, we have 4 task forces which are actively working on different topics. The first one is the Blazars. The Blazar task force is led by Claudio, Yanis, and Filippo Di Armando. We have a task force on survey led by myself, Manuela, and Rebecca. We have a task force on supermassive black hole binaries, which are basically looking at binary candidates. Led by Dragna, who is in the among the audience online, Angelica and Marta. And then we have a task force on AGN transients led by Claudio and Paula. So they are focusing on mainly changing look AGN and other transients. Next slide, please. There is a lot of discussion on monthly basis. We are meeting, we are discussing, we are brainstorming, and we are looking into every possible way to maximize the science return. And here we have Slack channels for all the 3 out of 4 task forces, and there is one which is pending, which I will put as soon as I can. So there we post the meetings and other details over there on the Slack if you want to follow up what the group is actually doing. Next slide, please. So a little bit about all the task forces. There has been intensive discussion going on over the past few months. So the Blazar task force so far has come up with a list of interesting candidates which are particularly interesting for Blazar science. So the neutrino emitter candidates is one of their top priority, following those sources, not only with Rubin, but other observatories might be interesting for the neutrino science. The second one is quasi or nearly periodic observations for Blazar candidates like OJ287 and PG1553, and there may be more. And the idea is again to see if the repeated variability is again coming from the jet of the Blazar itself, or it is coming from the presence of another black hole. So there are some synergies with the binary group here. The other 2 ideas are focused on strongly lensed blazars and also micro lensed blazars, and how the lensing affects their variability. And again, if you are interested, they have a Slack channel, and feel free to join the Slack channel and the group. Next slide, please. The next group is the survey group, which me, Rebecca, and Manuela are leading, and we are meeting on monthly basis. And so far, we have identified 2 key areas where we are stressing on. The first is to identify the compelling science cases and coordinate multi-wavelength observations, especially for the Rubin deep drilling field. And this includes a special focus on the high redshift AGN. The second one is, I'm not sure there will be a call soon for Roman General Astrophysics surveys, and the group is planning to send in a proposal to coordinate observations between Rubin and Roman, especially for the deep drilling field. If you need more information and if you want to get involved, please feel free to email us. Next slide, please. Summary: AGN, a science collaboration focused on binaries, is led by Dregna, Marta, and Angelica. And the group, I would say this is one of the most active task force over the past few months. They have identified several key questions, and they have a list of candidates compiled together, and they have also a list of telescope or observation facilities which will complement the photometric observations. And the idea is to find complementary way to actually investigate if this is actually a real binary candidate or the variability is just coming from by other means. So there is a lot of activity in this group over the past few months. Next slide, please. This is the final task force for the multi-wavelength follow-up group, which is the AGN transient task force. It's led by Claudio and Paula Sanchez, and there has been discussion so far on identification of the best candidates. And among the best candidates, one of the top priority for this task force is to identify the changing look AGN changes with really rapid and fast variability, and there could be a change in accretion state, or there could be something happening in the disk, and the multi-wavelength follow-up of those candidates is extremely useful and interesting to understand the AGN duty cycle itself. And they have listed here some instruments and facilities which they might they might think might be interesting to collaborate with. Next slide, please. So the ADN watch list or task force, it's actually not a part of the multivalent follow-up group, but there are lots of synergies and they are collaborating with all the ADN subgroups. And it's a lot of effort here, which Swam, Sarath, and Rebecca, they have been handling so wonderfully. So this task force has so far 26 members, and they are actively gathering information from all the working groups and compiling a list of interesting ADN. And in parallel, they are talking to the brokers to find a strategy which will make everybody's life easy for the follow-up observations and also in handling the multivalent data. And some can say more in the end if you have questions about that. Next slide, please. Okay, I think this is the final slide. So what we have so far, we are inviting people who can share information about different resources and who have ideas to be tested with multivalent data sets and facilities, if there are facilities that can be used together with the Rubin observations. And overall, the idea is to come up with a plan and to come up with ideas to maximize the Rubin science return for AGNs. And if you are interested, please let us know, and you are welcome to join all the work efforts the group is doing. And if you feel there is never too late, if you feel like you want to be a part of any of those task forces or subgroups, please let us know. I think I have one more slide. So thank you for listening, and we welcome your questions and feedback if you have any. And I might need to leave, so I don't know how much of I might be available for the discussion, but I know Dragna and Swam, they both are here and they would be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Bindu, are there urgent questions for Bindu as she has to leave? If not, thank you again, and we can move to the next speaker. I think it's Renee from desk.
Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be presenting this, but of course, you can either do the work or get the credit. And so the actual people who put together these slides and also have been coordinating our effort within the desk are Jeff Newman, who I think is on the line, and Erica Weiser, who are the leads of our working group within the desk for survey coordination. There is a Slack channel here that's linked, and there's a lot of really great stuff there. So I encourage folks to ask questions and get involved. Okay, so desk helped organize a bunch of kind of cross-collaboration proposals for recent Gemini and NOIR large and long program proposal calls. So we had two kind of complementary proposals related to transients, including one with a PI from Sahal Dhawan around strong lensing, and Gautam Narayan as well. So these were census of transients, high redshift supernovae, tidal disruption events, interesting supernovae, and nuclear transients. And there were sort of there were either 10 nights per semester on SOAR with Goodman, and then a few nights on Gemini. Neither of those proposals was successful, unfortunately. We did get some SOAR time through the Brazilian TAC, which is great. And some of the feedback that we received was that they wanted a more integrated science case for the proposal. So we wanted to combine different science cases together, but actually potentially it might make sense to have smaller proposals around specifically focused science cases. And they wanted some more justification of the sample size and the data taking. I think this is maybe what happens early on, right? That they just want to be cautious initially. So our current thinking is that we'll submit pilot program calls for the semester 26A, and then follow the input and have program calls that are specifically focused around science cases like the supernova time series, lens, supernova classification, etc. The plan is to submit a Gemini fast turnaround proposal for some first SV classifications. So that's the update there. And then there was another proposal that was focused around spectroscopy on Gemini of galaxy clusters. So this was a PI of Anja van der Linden, who's also in the room, so she can also jump in here. But this was for GMOS spectroscopy of between 40 and 90 galaxies in certain clusters. And the science cases were, multiplane strong lensing, investigation of projection effects at redshift around 0.45. And this was sort of building on pilot studies that had been led by Justin Miles, who's at Princeton. This was also unsuccessful, unfortunately, but again, we got some feedback from the TAC, which was basically focused around pilot programs. And again, I think that's not unsurprising given that we're early on. And so you can imagine folks being cautious initially, but we hope that the current plan will lead to good results. So Anja has submitted a fast turnaround proposal for the lensing of Abel's 360. And also we're thinking about proposing for sets of known clusters in SV data in the September call. Potentially we could propose for some in the March call as well, but this would require running cluster finders on the SV data, which may have timing issues given, release schedules, etc. So other known proposal plans within the desk. So there are plans for follow-up of lensed quasars with Magellan. This is led by Kate Napier, Matthias Espinoza, and Sydney Erickson. There was a successful pilot program in 25A, and this was looking at fainter lenses than you would get with Foremost and DESI camels. There's also a plan to organize a PFS Subaru proposal for PhotoZ training and calibration. Of course, this has broad interest beyond just the desk, but this would be a spectra of about 10 to 20,000 objects, similar to the concept proposed in the Robin Subaru white paper, but with limited I-band and shorter exposure times. So the point of contact on this proposal is Jeff, who's also on the phone here and has obvious synergies with other science collaborations. So there's a shallower program that is being proposed for DESI dedicated tiles within DESI, and this also might be a prototype for future DESI 2 observations. So the desk met last week for our collaboration meeting, and we had a session that was with everyone around to talk about how can we coordinate better our proposals, how can we make sure that we're complementing and supporting each other rather than potentially having destructive interference. So there's actually a spreadsheet where people can list proposals that they're planning and willing, to share with everyone to help assemble a team. It would be great to have a cross-collaboration version of this. In fact, for example, there are also different countries that have access to telescopes. So, there's a Canadian TAC for Gemini that would be useful as opposed to only going through one route. And this is true for other instruments as well. So DESC has previously created Google Docs listing available instruments and data sets. And we're going to have a desk point of contact who can keep them updated. But again, this might be something great that we could do across collaborations, science collaborations, so that there is, we're positively helping each other. There has been a lot of particularly strong coordination with the Strong Lensing Commissioning team about galaxy cluster related proposals for September. But our goals are to define a clear policy for writing proposals created with desk resources to make sure that we're following best practices within the desk. And then thinking of approaches to writing proposals across multiple science collaborations. How can we make sure we are doing right by each other's publication processes and standards, but also, not add too many layers of bureaucracy. So in general, I would say we're very keen to collaborate. We're really happy to support each other. And I'm excited that this is really taking hold now. So thanks.
Thank you, Renee. Any quick question before we move forward?
Thanks, Renee and Jeff. I'm just curious what the thinking is on any of these proposals about the proprietary period that would be associated with the spectra that's obtained. Are you thinking of making the data public to the Rubin community? Are they going to be proprietary to desk?
So I'll let Jeff jump in after me because I'm sure he has even a better idea. But I mean, so typically when we define intercollaboration agreements with other groups, you could imagine that that would cover some of that because you want to make sure that obviously you're working together, but you could say, okay, we'll have it proprietary to the group of whoever does that and then release that after with our data releases. But Jeff, did you want to add something?
Well, I'd certainly say, for things that are survey-like the PFS idea, I think that's of sufficiently broad interest that I think we would want to make that widely available on quick timescales. But modulo, just the work it takes to reduce and measure redshifts. So I think I would tend to be on the open side to enable sharing.
Thanks both. I'm guessing that the TAC would see that as a favorable aspect of such a proposal, especially for such a powerful but still limited resource.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think, we have to make the argument, particularly for some of the large programs like PhotoZ calibration, like we're asking a lot. We know that it is very, very necessary science, but that's doing, one thing over a whole area. So yeah, I think saying that the product of this is that people get these spectra would be great.
Okay, thank you. I think we can move forward. We have about half an hour discussion later, so don't worry. So next speaker, I think, is from Informatica Statistics Science Collaboration, and I think is online. Ashley, are you there?
I am online. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'll also have to hop off at the half hour. So if there are burning questions, but actually I don't have too much to say. So you can go to the next slide. So I'm representing the Informatics and Statistics collaboration, and we do not have active large scale plans in our collaboration. So I'm doing a little bit of promotion, but I blame Jeff, who said that I could do self-promotion because this data set is relevant and very much open to everyone. And it builds on actually some of what Renee said. So we do have a narrowed scope that's similar to the desk collaboration plans of trying to find anomalies in real time in the LSST data stream that has been awarded a large program through Gemini. What this does is that we have an open source code called LACE that takes data from extragalactic transients, including both the light curves and the host galaxy images themselves. It uses those features together to try to find the most anomalous looking, in a statistical sense, transients in real time. This has been done primarily through, there's a version of this algorithm LACE that actively runs on the Antares broker. And this is very much an open proposal that anyone who would like to be involved is welcome to reach out. In particular, I guess next slide, I only have one bullet point. One of our most active groups in the ISSC is the anomaly detection group, which is much larger than this program. This is not necessarily through them, but has many open discussions about how you do, in a statistical way, interesting anomaly detection in real time. Someone did ask previously, this data is expected from this Gemini program is expected to be made public. It's really to get large, medium scale classification of anomalous transients in a well-defined way. So that's all I have to say for ISSC. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Questions, either in person or online? Yes, there is one.
Hello. Hi, Ashley, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, this is Anuprita. My question was that you mentioned that you are looking for these anomaly detections live. What do you plan to do? Like, what are the plans? Like, as soon as you find something, is there some automated routine that will then trigger next steps? Can you describe a little bit about that?
I absolutely will. So our algorithm is highly tuned, kind of naturally, to longer duration anomalies. So think about like supernovae that are interacting with circumstellar material and last order months. So there's not a rapid turnaround necessary in an automated way. Our current pipeline is that we, not quite from the Antares broker, but it's the same it's like the same algorithm, doesn't really matter. We receive those alerts in an automated way. We have a Slack bot that I'm happy to share the code for that just tells us the most anomalous transients in per night. So it does it every morning. And then we have human evaluators. So we up and down vote anomalies as they progress. The plan here is to use that combination of the LACE, so data-driven filter, the human vetting very much, and then to trigger in a very manual way. But then to release those spectra, reduced spectra with, if it's a known physical supernova type, which probably it will be most times, also release it with a classification to TNS and WISE rep.
I see Bindu as a question.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Ashley, I think it's great to have this tool in hand. I was thinking along, like, there are two kind of agent we can use. So one is like the transients.
Yeah.
Something that flares. So those might be more suited for your code, but I was also wondering, like, there might be sources which has not been classified yet. So do you think those kind of sources can also be identified using the pipeline, or
Yeah, I would love to chat in more detail in an open way with the AGN community, because unfortunately we cut out nuclear things right now, but that's just a flag we could choose to not do. So we should just talk about it. Otherwise, yeah, this would be sensitive to flaring AGN. There's no reason why not.
So yeah, we'll definitely
if we didn't cut them out. Yeah.
offline. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ashley again. So next one is Galaxy Science Collaborations, and I think we have Simona.
Hi, so I'm Simona May. I'm one of the two co-chairs of the Galaxies collaboration. And we have been especially concentrating on in-kind programs and what can be the synergies with other observations that will be available. So the spectroscopic follow-up and DESI spectroscopic crash, it will be really useful for photometric calibration. And as you know, when you use templates or other methods to calibrate photometric redshift, you also have important information about the galaxy properties. So if we calibrate the photometric redshift, we can also calibrate the galaxy properties that we can derive from multiband photometry using spectroscopic redshift, sorry. We have also in-kind programs for cross-matching of Rubin with ancillary data. So there will be the cross-matching of Rubin and Vista surveys, Rubin and Mercat surveys, and two enough Italian and UK contributions that are especially important for us, the cluster spectroscopic hub that you already seen in the list that Steve has shown, and the science software development for near-infrared data fusion. So all these in-kind program include not only new data that will be taken by the different groups, but also the reprocessing and putting available to the science collaboration of public data and adapting it for our use. These are other relevant in-kind external data contribution for providing proprietary data on one end or cross-matching with public data. And I have outlined in bold what will be more useful for our science collaboration. Some of us pointed out that foremost, the instrument on the European Southern Observatory will be very important for us. So for the similar reason as DESI, because it will provide spectra that can be very useful for calibration. And it is also being run in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a 4.1 meter telescope. The commission is starting shortly, and the survey will be underway in 2026. So the 5 first-year survey of 4 MOS consists of 25 surveys, but for us, there are 3 that are the most interesting, and that will be for most hemisphere survey, the 4HS. So these are the spectra for 4 million galaxies with high completeness across the full southern hemisphere at less than 0.15. So in this redshift range that is very local universe, it's very difficult to calibrate and have a very good photometric redshift with only optical data from Rubin. Some work from the collaboration has shown that if you add near infrared and medium infrared data, then we can have better photometric redshift in this range, but calibrating with spectroscopic redshift will give us more solid results in that redshift range. Now we will have waves. So this is complete ND spectroscopy, 1.7 million galaxy at Z band now, is not redshift, right? Less than 21 in magnitude, and chances that is a spectral galaxy in around 150 of the most massive galaxy clusters up to 0.4. So this can be also interesting for DESC, and there are some of us that are really on it. The observations are made public after 1 year, but the analysis of the data products will require more agreements between those collaborations and us. The other thing is are the synergies with Euclid. So you are aware that Euclid will cover the entire sky, so also the southern hemisphere. So complementary Euclid and Rubin observation will be mainly beneficial for us for photometric redshift, galaxy property estimation, and the study of the cluster intercluster light, and the discovery of cluster of protocluster at Z larger than 1.3. Even if Rubin will not discover by itself or with optical data these objects, the Rubin deep observation will really help us to discriminate between high redshift objects detected with Euclid and low redshift contamination. So this is very important, and not only the deep Rubin photometry will permit to separate star-forming galaxies from quiescent galaxies so that we can study the fraction of quiescent galaxies in the Euclid cluster. And that's it for us.
Questions for Simona? Jeff, I saw a comment that you put in Zoom. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, I just want to point out for foremost, it's also keeping in mind the 4C3R2 sample, which is designed for PhotoZ training. Though just like the DESI samples, it's still going to be pretty shallow compared to the Rubin imaging and the samples we need there. So, but for bright objects, it'll be very helpful.
Thank you, Jeff. And remember that we are not only doing galaxy science at high redshift, that is what interests us, but there is a substantial part of the galaxy science collaboration is working in the local universe.
True.
So so even if it's shallow for us, it's not shallow for the local universe.
Simona again. So I think next one is strong lensing. And Anuprita. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Anuprita More, and I'm going to talk about the strong lensing science collaboration plans. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay, maybe I'll speak up a little bit. So yeah, I'm Anuprita More. I'm the co-chair of the strong lensing science collaboration, and Simon Birrer is the other co-chair. He's joining remotely, although he'll be rotating off soon. And Crescenzo Tortora will be taking his role. So a lot of the science collaboration plans that I'm going to present today, they also have some overlap with the desk. Our main Slack channels are the strong lensing and the desk SL. So for all the strong lensing systems, we can broadly divide them into static lens systems and transients and variables. So our follow-up plans are more or less similar for the two categories, but there are some small differences. So let me first start with our ideas for synergies with different facilities. So for example, for static lens systems, the ideas that we have for synergies with, let's say, the HST and JWST are, for example, confirmation of Rubin discovered lenses, We would like to get high resolution imaging so that we can do accurate lens mass modeling. Deep NR imaging would be useful for constraining the dust properties of the foreground and the background galaxies. And we would like to also have IFU data so that we can measure the velocity dispersion for the main lensing galaxy. And then for the lens transients, we can broadly divide them into two categories. The ones where the image separations between the multiple images is small enough that these look like unresolved. Or the other is where you have the very large image separations, and so you can easily resolve the multiple images. So for the unresolved systems, we would like to obtain high resolution imaging so that we can resolve the multiple images and also get additional photometry. We would like to get resolved light curves so that we can anchor them on the ground-based light curve data. Spectroscopy would be useful for combining them with, again, photometric and joint photometric and spectroscopic time delays. And again, additional things like having NR imaging, especially for high redshift sources, can be really useful so that we can better measure the time delays, and also a magnification, which will really help with improving the constraints on the system. And if you have wider image separation systems, then high resolution imaging will be useful for modeling, and then similar kind of observations are required, for example, spectroscopy and additional optical NR, redstream optical NR imaging for high redshift systems. So we are also thinking of synergies with Euclid and Roman. And in fact, to that end, we are also working on intercollaboration agreement with the Euclid right now. So the idea would be to build a catalog of known lenses from these surveys, and so that we can do cross-matching with transients. And these kind of survey will also be obviously helpful in building good lens mass models thanks to the high resolution imaging. These data will provide additional NR imaging, which will be useful for modeling the systems. And we will also have better and wider wavelength coverage so that we can get better estimates of the photometric redshifts. Further synergies with other ground-based facilities can be helpful in the sense of getting precise time delays, spectroscopy for the foreground and the background, and then confirming the nature of the lens transients by building a faster cadence data in addition to what we'll have from Rubin. So there are various facilities for which we have currently we have access via different SLSE members. And I have listed the names of these various telescope facilities for which there is guaranteed time. And these involve different combination of observations. Some are specific for observing only the confirmed candidates, confirmed systems, whereas some are for doing confirmation of the candidates. These include imaging or spectroscopy. Some of them are for doing target of opportunity observations, whereas the others are more for doing monitoring observations so that we can obtain time delays of the lensed transients or the variable sources. And we have been putting together various proposals for primarily for the lens transients, but some of these can also be used for static systems. So here's a list of all the accepted proposals so far, which again span varied facilities, both from the ground and from the space. The names of the PIs are also listed there. These are again a mix of high resolution imaging, spectroscopy observations, and some of them are for confirmation of the static lenses as well. There are a few proposals which were submitted, like the Large Gemini program and similar one on SOAR, which were not awarded, but in the near future, we'll be submitting more such proposals. And in order to facilitate all of this work and plan and coordinate better, we are setting up an internal database, which is called the Candidate Central Database, So this database will be fed by various lens search pipelines, and we will maintain information on all of the candidates. We'll also use spacewalks, which is a citizen science project. I'm one of the PIs. We will use the spacewalks for visual inspection so that we can get good ranking for all of these candidates, and we can then decide which of these candidates need to be followed up. So this database will then communicate with these various components and will allow us to better coordinate with all the follow-up plans and observations and so on. And I think that's all from me. So thank you.
Thank you, Anuprita. Questions? Yes, there is a question.
Thanks. I'm just curious what the mix of Gemini instruments is currently in the follow-up proposals. Is it mostly optical spectroscopy, or is it infrared too?
If I have to recollect, I think it's optical mostly. Yeah, but I can double check.
And of course, the Scorpio instrument will be coming soon, which is multi-band capability specifically for follow-up.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Something online? Okay, if not, thank you, Anuprita, again. And last but not least, we have solar systems and collaboration. Kerry?
Hi, my name is Carrie Holt. I'm the early career representative for the Solar System Science Collaboration, and I'm just going to give like a little overview of just some of the stuff that we have, and I'm absolutely sure that I'm missing some though. So we're currently working on this is our follow-up ecosystem crazy diagram, but essentially it's also here to show you that all of these things in the green box are going into a new follow-up coordination website being created for solar system objects, because we have not had a solar system object-wide one. It's called FOMO, Follow-Up Observations of Moving Objects. So that's being developed. So the default is open so everybody can see the ingested objects and the pending and completed observations for each of those. And that has integration with AON, the other robotic facilities, as well through the TOM toolkit. So for telescope proposals, there was a meeting last January, I believe, for the European, for ESO, they had a meeting about follow-up for LSST. So from that, we put in several TO proposals this past year for interstellar objects, things like weird asteroids, outbursts, split comets, and then also like low activity to no activity comets, so main belt comets or asteroids on cometary orbits. As far as I know, there hasn't been much mass coordination of follow-up observing proposals, but there should be, and you guys have given us some great ideas on how to do that moving forward. And then I'll just briefly talk about our external data set. So we put together a comet testing data set, which includes comet data of varying brightness and other things that can be used for people to test their pipelines on, especially if any brokers are interested in knowing how to work with comets a little bit better. We have the NEO Surveyor mission, which is will be very complementary to LSST, giving us for the near Earth object aspect for these. And Roman is developing a solar system pipeline as well. For those of you who don't know, the Minor Planet Center will have all of the detections of the objects in Rubin, and it will also be linking to those other detections every night. So known objects will be very quickly associated. So that's important for you guys when you have a pesky asteroid in your data set. And then there's all the space missions, which will definitely be complementary, including the Lucy mission, which is going to the Jupiter Trojans, and then the Comet Interceptor mission, which is the European Space Agency mission that will be intercepting a long period comet. And LSST will be able to discover that, it will be discovering that target when it's further from the sun. And I just want to, my just takeaway is that yet we know small bodies are everywhere. I know it's annoying for some people's data sets, but in general, that just means that, you know, our targets are in your data, and more importantly, your targets are also in ours. So always happy to chat because there's a lot of things we might not know about. Yeah.
Harry? Questions? Online questions? Okay, if not, I will thank all the speakers again. And now we have plenty of time for discussion. I just want to be sure I can see Zoom. So maybe I can stop sharing. I don't think I need it anymore. Okay, so time for discussion. Someone wants to say something?
Yes. So first of all, with my like 3-day-old Stars Milky Way local volume co-chair hat on, apologies for no slides on our end. I'm just catching up. But essentially, I'm going to give a one-man plug for SMWLV in-kind contribution external data set slides live, essentially. Because I'm also an in-kind contributor UKD S9 doing catalog cross-matching to your favorite data set here of order 10 photometric catalogs matched to every LSST data release. It's an in-kind contribution to the two SCs that did not stand up and say anything, which is slightly annoying, but it was missed off everybody else's slides, and it shouldn't have been. It's in the software rather than in dataset, I think, is perhaps one of the problems. But I care just as much about galaxies and about those other stuff outside of the galactic plane. Maybe not as much, but like, you know, you love one of your children more than the other one, right? But please talk to me about how McAuliffe, which is the cross-match software and service, can help with galaxies. What data sets do you people want, and what data sets do the TVS people want, and what data sets do the star people want? You know, how do we stop the fragmentation of the SCs? Essentially, we're an in-kind contribution to one or two collaborations, but we want to be across all of them. You know, how do we coordinate? How do I raise that awareness so that the Galaxies people include me in their little table next year? How do we? That's my bigger picture. That's my bigger question. Is how do we all come together across all of the collaborations, because we have more in common than we do disagree on particular targets, I think, in terms of external data set synergy.
For the comment, I see an hand raised online.
Yeah, thank you. I think it would be really useful to have all of these in-kind contributions listed somewhere so that people can easily access them. Otherwise, I'm sorry, like, you know, it's easy to miss things because there are so many. So you know, it's useful to have them at one place.
So I will say that we do have on the in-kind website, we have a listing of every single contribution that is part of our program. We're also starting to get more detailed information available for computing resources. Canute has a nice webpage on IDAX and SPCs. There's one on the telescope contributions, and there's the brand new one on data sets that'll be improving. I agree that we can do a better job at making sure that the right information gets to the right people and promoting that more, but that there is some there now that can give you a start.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Tom, where will the cross-match data sets be served from?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. The initial plan is that they will be provided by the UK Data Access Center and on our RSP, just by it being a UK in-kind contribution. But I don't think there's any reason that the data cannot be hosted anywhere else. And in fact, I think we would actively like, you know, the US to ask for it. If there are other IDACs that want to basically copy and paste the data, that would almost certainly be fine. And it's also, we're a work in progress working with the Link Frameworks team to integrate it into LSDB. So then if your workflows involve LSDB and HATs, then they may well be ingesting the data releases into LSDB as well. So hopefully it will be absolutely everywhere, and you won't be able to trip over it.
Super. And will there be some initial DP1?
Yes, I just have a million things I'm supposed to be doing. One of them is DP1 and then DP2. Yes, we definitely hope to do that as soon as possible. To your data set here, again, we have Gaia, Wise, 2Mass, and Vista at the moment, just because that's what we picked at random. But I need essentially observer pressure, right? I need people to tell me they want these data sets. We can only do so many, and I'm guessing at the minute, unless you tell me what you want.
Other comments?
There's one
Yes,
online.
Yeah, so I'm Simon Beer, currently still co-chair of Strong Lensing Science Collaboration. We work very closely with DESC, which is wonderful. And I just want to raise the point more broadly to all science collaboration. So we want to work with everyone as closely as possible, sharing the expertise as being mentioned, software, data, and so on. Can we find a way that maybe the cross-working group may be more streamlined? So what does this mean, writing papers together? What does it mean, writing proposals together? So I think we are all a bit in a try and error phase of how this will go. But it's certainly something that the practice of actually linking up, joining channel is probably easier than actually the grinding of, okay, sending things through to collaboration, making agreements. And I don't have a solution when I throw this out. Is there a possibility of having such a framework, or maybe some collaboration have figured it out and say, like, here is the template for it. We can copy it. So that's it.
Anyone else? If not, I also have a comment which is not related to that. It's more a logistic question. And I was wondering if there is a general plan to make accessible to Rubin data right holders all the external data sets that have been provided, either via in-kind or via proposals that we may ask as joint proposals with different science collaborations. If there is a plan to put this on the RSP somehow or something else.
I can speak on the in-kind data sets. It depends highly on the data set. Some of them, like the MOA archive, are being delivered by the data set itself. So it'll be a separate website. You'll use authentication to ensure that you're a data rights holder to be able to access it, but it'll be on a separate system. A few of the data sets will be more served by NORLab, and what that looks like, if that's something that's via the RSP or something that's on Astrodata or something, is still to be determined. One of the things that we want to hear is, how do you plan to use these data sets, and therefore, make sure that we meet your needs so that you can access them.
Thank you, Steve. More on this or on collaboration. So how do we collaborate better? So an idea could be if we can prepare a sort of web page with a list of all the proposals that we want to prepare, and be sure that we don't step on each other too, because different science collaborations can have similar interests, and so we can coordinate better. But to coordinate better, we need to know what the other people are doing. And so I would like to hear thoughts on this, how you think you can coordinate.
Yes, this idea of coordination, I think it crosses many topics. I'll give an example of the IDAX coordination group, which is doing this sort of thing, and maybe has some experience in what works and what doesn't for trying to stimulate the discussion. So one thing is to just set up a joint Slack channel, right? Which is useful for communication, but unless you seed it with some content or prompt people to engage, it'll just be quiet and nothing will happen. Having occasional or at least some meetings with with agendas that are intended, I think, to force people to react to some prompts that are important for getting the coordination going, I think is pretty vital. It takes organizational effort, and that can be substantial. But I think without that, then it's very difficult to get the discussion going. In our experience with the IDEX coordination group, I think there's a lot of intent to collaborate with each other on doing things like, implementing authentication. What services are you going to stand up? And whenever you have a meeting, there's like a day or two of lots of activity, and then it tapers off really quickly, right? So I think having these meetings to really kind of force people to think about it and engage on it is really the only thing that's worked for us. But
and then just on coordination, it's not only science that needs to be coordinated across the SCs. We definitely need to do more there to make sure that something that's gone to galaxies that might be relevant for desk ends up in desk and that sort of thing. But the algorithms being used to do the cross matching need to be optimized. In particular, our algorithm is tuned very much to crowded fields. So that is useful for LSST to, say, deep vista images in the galactic plane, but we might waste compute resources matching to X-rays, which have far less dense data sets with far larger uncertainties. And then that you're in a different regime of the cross-matching algorithm. So there's not only the sciences need to be to come together, but the people running the matches themselves, this comes into some sort of coordination group, need to make sure that they're not both duplicating effort, but also the right algorithm is being paired to the right data set. Just to tack on the end of that. And then I will run you this microphone. Run. You've already got one. No. Oh my God.
Thank you so much in any case. So what I wanted to say is that the Slack channel is very useful to exchange fast information, but then it's very difficult to find information after a long time. I don't know if you have thought about databases like the Confluence page from Desk, where we put all the projects that are presented by different groups, and then they are available to the entire collaboration so that people can join. So we can take perhaps something like that, but that is shared among all the collaboration. The problem with Confluence is that we have to pay for it. So in Desk makes sense because it's funded, I think, right, by the DOE, I don't know by whom, and it's very efficient. So if we can find some archive of that kind, but that is free, and share it among all the SC, I think it will be really, really useful to have a record and to have people, to give people the opportunity to join the projects in a very easy way, because you send an email to everybody and yeah.
So we, in addition to the Slack channel, we do have a web page where we deposit sort of more permanent information, which is, it's not quite what you're targeting, but I'd like to put in a plug for community, right? So we also have a topic in community, and since it's a sort of the project interface, I think, to the community, we should learn to make good use of it, because that is searchable and threaded. It's maybe not quite as structured as a Confluence page, but I think we could maybe figure out how to use it, and it's free. So.
I see an hand raised online.
Yes, thank you. I would like to offer what we have done in the Trans-Environable Star Science collaboration, which is to have a dedicated subgroup for, in that case, for the software development related to TVS science, like the cross-matching Tom was referred to before. This could be a good way to have a group working on, in this case, database and follow up. And quite often the subgroups or task forces of TVS are shared with other science collaborations. And in TVS there are so many, like AGN, Stars Milky Way, Local Volume, Desk, and others. So this could be also a good way to manage this kind of data set, especially for the software subgroup. This is crucial for the in-kind contributions. So this could be an option.
Thank you, Sarah. Other comments?
There's a couple comments in the Zoom chat you may want to look at.
Oh, yes, please just mute it and mute and speak because we are not monitoring the Zoom chat. I apologize. Yeah, I see an hand raised. You can unmute and speak.
Yeah, I didn't put anything in the Zoom chat, but I'm wondering where or how we can request sort of additional efforts that aren't already part of in-kind contributions. So for example, DM provided the pipelines that are used for HSC data releases. The last PDRs are done. We're still continuing to process the Cosmos data, and that's covered by an earlier agreement. But it would be nice at some point, for example, to have all of the data, including wide, but especially the ultra deep that covers Cosmos, reprocessed and also made available through the RSP, for example, which is not right now. So who do we ask for that?
I can answer partially. One possibility for this is the in-kind team runs what we call a resource needs request system. So as things are seen by the community, the science collaborations, as needs to do the science and things that they need to enable science for the group, can fill out a very lightweight Google form for resource needs. And we look at these resource needs and try and match them up and offer them to US, Chilean, and eventually international in-kind proposals to meet that resource need. So contact if you can't find it on our in-kind web pages, contact the in-kind team and we can help point you in the right direction for that.
The chat comment by Dragana. Do you want to propose it or we want me to read it?
I can do it. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I just also posted this on Slack to maybe foster further discussion, what people think about it. Because Knut mentioned that it is there is a community forum and there's Slack, and that sometimes not very active, these channels, because they are basically offline. So he mentioned that having a dedicated meeting like what we are doing now in this 1.5 hour session might help better coordination among different science collaboration, because as you said, there's a lot of overlap. So I was just wondering whether a dedicated workshop like examples, for example, that was mentioned for the target of opportunity programs and things like that might help to identify procedures and how people can be more aware about the different data sets and so on, because I know that there is a page for in-kind proposals and all the projects being running, but this is a very busy spreadsheet and it's very difficult to navigate. So it's just a thought, and I was just wondering if maybe we can follow up on this on some dedicated Slack channel, or have a joint dedicated Slack channel. Start there and start discussing whether we should have a online or in-person meeting, workshop, and things like that. So I would just like to hear the thoughts of the other participants here on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dragana. Any reply? I don't know if Jeff wants to add something on the previous experience about the collaborative proposals that started from desk and then it was circulated among the others.
Well, I can just say, it started as a discussion within desk, and we realized there might be interest in other collaborations as well. So we tried to reach out and have a joint conversation at what is the desk survey coordination telecon time. And I think that was pretty successful in bringing people together. But it was very ad hoc, and we never resolved, how would we share data, any of these questions. Even within desk, we don't really have policies for how we'd share external data sets. And so I think it's the start of a conversation, and but I like the idea of getting together, having extended conversations to try to make everything concrete, how we can work together. Because we don't want to be putting in opposing proposals for the same science or anything like that. We want to be sharing as much resources as we can.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm just going to encourage folks again to work together, not just so we avoid duplicating proposals, but so that we can think of using the important but not unlimited resources to maximum effect, not unlike we're doing with LSST, right? LSST is a survey that serves lots of science cases. So I think, you look at PFS time, for example, if we can get really good cross collaboration proposals that can use all those fibers for those few nights to serve multiple science collaborations, I think that's going to be a really powerful proposal to the Noir Lab TAC, for example, and would hopefully serve most of what everyone wants to do, so that we don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about who gets that valuable resource. Because if we can find a way that we can help everyone use part of it, that's going to be a lot more straightforward. I wanted to make one comment on Dan's comment about resource needs. Remember, Rubin Observatory itself can put out a resource need call, and then we can see who in the current in-kind sphere might be able to provide that for us.
Rob, do you think the project can help us to coordinate for this kind of proposal with, web page or an archive, since the resources don't come from the single collaborations?
I think we probably could. Another possibility is to talk with our colleagues at LSSTDA, who are also already supporting the science collaborations in many ways like this, and that might be a natural place to do some of this.
Hi, Melissa DeLucchi, software engineer at Link Frameworks. The resource of like follow-up telescopy things seems really important. There's also a resource of like people able to write software, and lots of people use different kinds of software and different algorithms. And I feel like I've been hearing a lot over the last few days that people don't know what resources are available to them, either in terms of just that raw software engineering power, or, hey, somebody already wrote this really cool library, I should just be using that instead. And it sounds like, at least within TVS, there's a software group that maybe tries to do a little bit of that coordination, but I'm wondering if, there is space for some broader, just Rubin software coordination group. I feel like this comes up, oh, I got hands, okay, yes.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we tried to launch it was called actually the Rubin Software Forum, for which there is a Slack channel for organizers, but it never took off. I think because we didn't have enough people to sort of step up to the organizational work to do it. I did propose an unconference session on this topic that fell just shy of the number of votes needed to get a room. But I think the interest is there, so we'll try to get this going again. Yeah, great, excellent, yes, yeah.
Thank you. Other comments? There's still a few minutes left. And I think if we want to go towards wrapping up this session, which I think was very productive, the keyword is coordination, it seems, among the science collaborations, and maybe also having a structure or portal, a Slack channel, maybe more than one, and also maybe a coordinator if someone wants to propose, to put all the efforts together. and maximize the sense results. Any other last minute comments? There is someone in the chat. Yes, we should also have either a channel on Slack and community space for follow-up. Yes, this is a very good suggestion. So, and I think this is something that we can do relatively quickly. So we can start with the Slack channel and maybe also use the community forum as a space where you can discuss with a defined flag. And yeah, I don't see other comments. Okay, if there is nothing left, thank you very much for participating in this discussion, and I hope you enjoyed the meeting. So thank you again.